Michael Boyle's StrengthCoach.com presents the Strength Coach Podcast, brought to you by Perform Better, the experts in functional training and rehabilitation. PerformBetter.com.
All right, guys, now it's time for a special episode. We do this every month with Vince Gabriel, founder of Gabriel Fitness Performance and the Fitness Business University. He helps gym owners get more clients, make more money, and have more freedom. He's the author of 9 fitness business related books, including the Big Book of Marketing. Vince, how you doing?
What's up, Ant? How's it going today?
Doing good, doing good. Hey, I saw Vanessa posted some pretty cool pictures, and I was like, that's who I haven't heard from Vince in a while. Looks like you guys were away. I got to hear. Really, I know you always have, every time you go away, I'm like, you always have some weird, crazy ass story too. I hope you got one for us today.
Yeah, we went to away 2 weeks in a row. The first one we went to this little ranch in New York. Actually, probably not far from you in White Plains. I think it was called what was it called? Some horse ranch, Rocking Horse Ranch. It was called. So it's not far from White Plains, and then this past weekend we went to Vermont. We went skiing, and we stayed at the Trapp Family Lodge, which is really cool. Like a lot of history. There's the movie, The Sound of Music, was based on the Trapp family. So a lot of cool history there. But my kids are not skiers. We went to Stowe Mountain, and they've only been skiing once in their whole life. So as a family, we kind of got together skiing, and Vanessa's not a good skier either. It's funny, Vanessa said she was a good skier, and then she started to ski, and I was like, she's horrible, terrible, awful.
No way.
She's like one of the kids. Like, so we start on the bunny slopes, and I'm not I'm very intermediate, right? So I'm not an advanced skier, but I'm not a beginner. And so it was really fun. So we're going on the bunny slopes and the green circles, and I'm teaching the kids how to ski, and they're like following me in the line and stuff. And it was really good. And my oldest daughter, Bella, she's like, Dad, I think I'm ready to try a blue square. Because we were on the green ones. And I was like, all right. And we went to a blue one. And it was actually like the blue, it was pretty steep for a blue. It's like kind of like it was a straight down type of blue. It was a tougher one. And she starts going down, and she panics and just like went straight down the mountain, like wasn't making turns like I showed her, and just like went out of control and like fell and kind of bumped into some guy. And the guy started like getting upset and like yelling at Bella. And I'm like watching the whole thing, because it was very steep, but it was short. So I was kind of like not far behind. And I watched this thing unfolding. And while he's talking to an 11-year-old in a condescending way, after literally an 11-year-old girl bumped into him, I come down the mountain. And I'm not, I'm 6'4" on skis, right? It's a sight, right? And you got puffy jackets on, so you look bigger. Right? And so I come going down the mountain, and I give this man a verbal wedgie, for talking my daughter at all, but also like making him feel like he was like 2 feet tall after I said it's her first time down a blue square. I just like went off on the dude.
Wow.
My other daughter, Toria, is like wanted to go after the guy and stuff. My other daughter, Toria, she's like does jiu-jitsu, and she was all fired up. But by the way, both my kids are doing jiu-jitsu, Joey and Toria. And Toria she's like, I got her she's like just beginner white belt, and she said she got a yellow belt in Americana the other day. And she was all fired up. So it's such a great sport. But anyway, so Bella was a little wigged out by the whole situation, right? And we go back on the greens, and we start going over the basics and flying around the mountain. And she does better and better. And I went to go to get lunch, and she stayed skiing with her cousins. Her cousins were there, and I saw her when she came back from skiing, and she had this big smile on her face, and she said, "Dad, guess what? I did the blue square that I fell on before. I did it." And she went down and she did it again. She was all excited and all fired up. And it's just like, a lot of the things that we fail at are due to fear, right? We're afraid of things, so we shy away from it. And the fastest way to not be afraid of things is to face the fear as fast as possible. And so, like, if she all of a sudden said, "Well, next time I go to Stowe, which will be next year, right, I'll try that blue one again," right? And she now has to wait an entire year to face her fear again. And instead of like waiting an entire year, she did it that day, and she did it, only a couple hours after that one time. And so I think that I've been telling this story just because, one, I like to tell the story of me giving that guy a verbal wedgie, but after I stuffed him in a locker. And but the other thing is, it's like, if you are afraid of something, and most business owners are, you're afraid of, what would happen if your business failed. You're afraid of what would happen if you lose a client, if you lose a trainer, right? You're all afraid of that. And the fastest way to overcome fear is to face it. So then my message has been recently, whatever, there's something that you're afraid of, whether that being a fall or whatever, the fastest way to get over it is to just face it head on. So that doesn't really have much to do with what we're going to talk about today, but you said I like to come home with cool stories from my trips, and I thought that was the coolest one I got.
Yeah, but you got to add that your Tori took the guy down and choked him out with her yellow belt. That would have been awesome.
Yeah, that would have been good.
But you're right. It's a great lesson. It's a great reminder. That's one of those things that you always have to be reminded of. I think one of the things, like you said, like fail, but also a lot of us are afraid. I always use the term, because it's me. What if I have a party and nobody comes, right? Like, so what if I open the gym and I don't get any customers? Or what if I start a social media? What if I have a post and nobody watches it or nobody likes it? Or and it's one of those things that the more you do, and you just kind of got to get, because you do get discouraged when and it might not be failing, like just because your social media is not killing it or whatever, if you think that's important, but just to kind of keep going and keep doing it. I think it's just a great reminder for people.
Yeah, the number one, and we're going to talk about this a little bit today, but the number one quality in sales is buoyancy, is your ability to stay afloat amongst an ocean of rejection, right? It's like, you can't be successful in selling if all of a sudden you just, like, someone says no, and all of a sudden it takes you 3 weeks to ask someone else for a sale. So you got to understand that it's like, it's your ability to stay afloat when you actually, things don't go your way, and your ability to say next, next mountain, next hill, next client, right? And the faster you can do that, the more successful you're going to be.
Yeah, and actually, I think that has something to do. I mean, today's title is "The Giant Pile of Money Business Owners Sit On But Are Too Drunk on, quote unquote, More Leads to Activate It." And what happens once you get a lead? And I think sometimes this does have something to do with, because it's like you're afraid sometimes to, I don't want to keep calling these leads. If you call that lead, or if you act on it, and you're not getting the response you want. So let's jump into this.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, and here's the thing. I own a marketing agency, so I make a living on more leads, right? Like my marketing agency is Kiss Marketing, which at some point I'm going to have Will on the podcast, because I think it's that business has exploded in the last year, and we're helping so many people. I went through every digital marketing agency in the industry as a client when I was, running the gym GFP back in the day. And you never could find the combination of good customer service, good client experience, good follow-up with good results. You never found it. And we have cracked the code on it. And it's really, really exciting what's going on down in San Antonio, Texas, which is where our HQ is. But So I'm not against more leads. You do need lead flow. You do need to be always trying to get more leads and add more to the top of the funnel. But more leads don't necessarily equate to more money. And that is essentially what you want. When someone says more leads, what do they want? They want more money. And I do believe that a lot of people that are saying more leads, they have not done their due diligence on leveraging all of the assets that are available to them to make more money, right? So today, really what I want to talk about is the pile of money that you're sitting on, which is all of the unconverted leads that you have right now, right? So these are the leads that opted in through your website or Facebook that did not become clients. These are the leads that, left your gym. No, it's probably rare, and you know this as a gym owner, right? It's probably rare that someone left 5-Iron Fitness. It's 5-Iron, right? 5-Iron?
5-Iron, yep.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I don't know my golf. I don't know if it's 3-wood fitness, 5-Iron, three thing fitness, 5-Iron. Okay. I got it right the first time. Right. And they probably didn't stick 2 middle fingers up in your face and say, "You suck, Ant. I'm never coming back." Right. They probably just left because life got in the way and
Yeah.
just so. But that is a list of people, that, hey, the longer you're in business, the bigger that list is going to be. And it's a way for you to pick up the phone and then call these people and just say, "Hey, do you want to come back?" It's so simple. Everyone wants to get so sophisticated with all the crap going on in marketing, and it's they don't do the basics of just "Hey, you trained with us a year ago. How are things going on your own?" And it's how it's so rare that most of the people that we work with are pretty good at what they do, I think, right? They do a good job.
Yeah.
They get good results, right? And I would think that in our world, in the Mike Boyle world, right, in our world, that there's probably not a gym that they're going to leave your gym and go to a gym down the street that's better than you, that has better customer service than you, that has better results than you. It's rare, I believe, because I think the people that listen to this podcast and the people that follow Mike are the best of the best in the industry. So what are
and they have
doing?
A growth mindset. They're looking to learn. Obviously, if you're listening to this podcast, it's something you're actively trying to get better at with the business stuff, right? Too.
So it's not really your competition is them doing nothing. Your competition is not the CrossFit down the street, because they're probably not going to that. They're probably doing nothing. And if they did do something, they did something for a month and then they quit because they realized, it wasn't as good as you. But the other thing is too, and we'll get to this more, but people don't want to come back because they're embarrassed that they left.
Good point.
And think of it like this. And I know this from personal experience because I've been a gym owner for 15 years. So after 15 years, right, there's a lot of people in my community that have left my gym. A lot. Okay. So when I see someone in the grocery store, it's not just they don't want me to look at their cart to see all the Fruit Loops that they have in their cart. It's they don't want to make eye contact with me because they're embarrassed that they left. And when you reach out to them after they left, you're saying, "Hey, it's okay. I'm not mad at you for leaving. It's all right. You're more than welcome to come back. I don't think you're a quitter. I just think your life got in the way, and hey, here's an invitation to come back. And by the way, your first month's free too."
Yeah.
But that's the thing, that you have this opportunity to do this every day. You have this opportunity to pick up the phone, and I teach all the mastermind members, 5 people a month. 5 people a month. Pick up the phone and call 5 former clients, and pick up the phone and just call them. Don't text them, call them and leave a voicemail, and do it like a human to human thing. like old school, right? And it's like, if you don't have the time to do that, then it's just like, come on, right? But everyone's kind of wants to spend 45 minutes planning their TikTok post and this and that, but they can't pick up the phone and call 5 people. So
Yeah.
I think it's really important. But the whole point of this topic is to understand that the fortune is in the follow-up. That is really what the memorable point of the episode is the fortune is not in the new leads. The fortune is in the follow-up, right? And there's really 2 layers to your follow-up system. There's the follow-up, there's the immediate follow-up, right? After someone opts in for something. But then there is the follow-up that is long-term if they don't purchase anything. Then there is the follow-up that I was just talking about. If they come to you and then they leave, what's the follow-up after that? So the reality of this whole thing is that there's lots of money to be made if you have good systems in your business for getting people to convert. Okay. And so the story I always tell is the story of when I was in San Diego and Vanessa was working at Fitness Quest, and we both were there and employees, and I used to stalk Vanessa, and we had this at that point we had this big appointment book. It was like, it was probably like a 4-foot book on the desk, right? It was like this one of those big ones, right? And her initials at the time were VC. Her maiden name is Carver, right? And so so I would look for VC on the calendar, and I would legitimately book my schedule around when VC was working. So like Vanessa had a appointment. She was the only person working at 6:30 on Saturday mornings. And she had these 2 people that never, ever didn't come. They never were on vacation. That's what she always says. My 6:30 on Saturday morning never goes on vacation. So I always have to work on Saturday morning. So I would always book sessions at 6:30 on Saturday mornings because I was alone with Vanessa in the gym. It was just me and her. She was in the Pilates room. I was in the gym, and I would just be like eyeing her up, man. And it was years in the making before we even started dating. But
No
I
way,
started,
really?
yeah. Oh yeah. This is
Wow.
years. This is years. And then I eventually, got the courage to like ask her to go out, and we were friends and stuff. So I was like, hey, do you want to go get sushi or something? She was like, no, no, no. And she said no. And then I asked her something else, like probably like a couple months later. And I was like, hey, and she said no again. And then finally I had a ticket to a Tom Petty concert, an extra ticket. And I called her up and I said, hey, V, I got an extra ticket to Tom Petty. Do you want to go with me? She goes, who's Tom Petty?
No
And I was
way.
just like, yeah. And I was just like, oh my God. But she ended up coming with me, and that was the first like kind of turned into a date at the Tom Petty concert, and the rest is history, right? But if I don't follow up, if I don't ask her again, like I don't have a beautiful wife, I don't have 3 kids, like I don't have it's like it was worth it. The follow up was worth it. But that's kind of the same approach that people have to take if you want to make more sales. Hey, they're probably not going to say yes the first time. I think that's like it used to be 7. It used to be set. People need 7 times to make a decision, and now it's probably like 10 to 13.
When you say that, do you mean like I always remember that as called contacts, right? Like David Ogilvy used to, or do you mean like personal like, hey, Vanessa, do you want to go out? Hey, Vanessa, you want to go out? Like, do you need 7 actual in person, or do you think like they saw my ad, they did this, they did that, there's an email, whatever?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that, right? I can't be 100% sure. I know that the research shows that it's like 7 to 10 was the old, and now it's kind of creeped up to 10 to 13. Because but the point is that you got to understand that people are indecisive. That is like, it's the human behavior thing. The thing we're trying to realize is that, all right, they're not going to all of a sudden see gym, personal training. Oh, yeah, let me do that. Right. It's going to take follow-up. It's going to take time. And it doesn't mean, I think I've talked about this before, but I always tell the story of, I was on my porch one Saturday morning, and I looked at my neighbor's house, and he had, what are they called? not satellite, solars. He had solar panels on
Solar
his roof.
panels. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I'm looking, I was like, oh, that seems pretty cool. So I Googled it and I opted in for something, some kind of lead magnet or something. And then I was just like, the rest of the day I went on with my day. And then I got a call like 5 days later from the solar panel guy. He was like, hey, I saw you're interested in solar panels. Do you have time to call? And I was like, that was 5 days ago. I'm kind of like done with that by now. Right. I was like on to the next thing.
I'm on
But
wind now, buddy.
yeah. But if he had called me that day when I was interested and that was the peak of my interest. So the point I'm trying to make is speed is essential in that initial follow-up. Speed is essential in that initial follow-up. And I believe that everyone should have something automated, right? For that initial response. I do believe that automation alone will not cut it. Automation alone will not cut it. You need a combination of automation and then human follow-up. So what we teach at GFP, what we teach in the SPF Mastermind, right, is an automated text that goes out right away. Okay, but then a phone call as fast as possible. They opt in at 9 o'clock. Our goal is to call them before 9:10. Right, as fast as humanly possible. Now, I know some people listening to this, I'm training at 9:10. There's no way I can make that phone call. Well, you have to do it as fast as you possibly can. But just know that speed does matter because we live in this instant gratification world. So if someone searches around on your website and all of a sudden they're inspired enough to opt in, they want to talk to somebody. In fact, in agency, and we build websites every day for gyms. That's what we do. And we have well over 100 websites going right now. Okay. The best offer right now is talk to a trainer. Right. And that's what they want to do. Yeah. Is talk to a trainer. They want to talk to somebody. They want to talk to somebody about the next step. Right. And it's a very hands off. It's like 21 days for $47. You could do that, or you could say, I don't want to talk to somebody. Because that's ultimately what people want. Like they want to just make sure that the person that they're going to work with is going to understand what they're going through, right? So speed is really, really important. Now, the step that a lot of people fail to make is the organization of this entire process, right? Is how well is the lead follow-up organized. Okay. Now let me give you a quick analogy. So Ant, when you lived in White Plains, anytime you ordered something on Amazon, it was shipped from a place in Maryland. This massive Amazon facility where all of the products were stored. So if you ordered, something, I don't know, from Jocko, right? It's not coming from Jocko's house in California.
Yeah.
Right? On Amazon. It's coming from the Amazon fulfillment center in wherever it is in Maryland. And that's why they can get there in Prime, sometimes creepily in 6 hours. Like I find that very, very creepy that I don't know why. Some people may find it good. I find it very creepy that I can order something in the morning and then in the afternoon it's on my door. I don't know why, but I just find that creepy. I'm not sure, right? But there is this incubator where everything goes. All the stuff goes to Maryland. And then from Maryland, I can't be sure. I think that's for the East Coast. I'm sure
that's just the East Coast. We have one in Indiana because I same thing. Everything always goes to this one town. There's a huge one there.
Got it. Right. And so Maryland just serves the East Coast, right? So there's probably right. So, but there's this one incubator where everything goes, and that is you must have that system set up in your business. You must have an incubator where all leads go into one organized place. Okay. So if someone opts in through a website, or someone opts in through Facebook, or someone even calls you manually, right? All of that gets pumped into this incubator, this Amazon fulfillment center that you have for your business. Now, we at KISS Marketing, we have a software that we built called Convert Cloud, right? And Convert Cloud is basically like a sales CRM. Right. So it goes from the website and it goes into Convert Cloud, and then it shows up as a new lead. Right. And then from there, what you can do is you have the ability to drag it over. It's a new lead. We called the new lead and then you would drag it over. Right. So without getting into too much detail about the system, the most important point for them to take away from this is that there needs to be this incubator where everything goes, so that you can have this visual of everything. The days of having a even at Fitness Quest, right? All of the calls that came in or notes that came in would go into this pink slip type thing, where you would write it down and there was a pink slip. And if there was a message for a trainer, they would hand you the pink slip. And on the bottom, there was a yellow carbon copy of it. And there was like these notes everywhere. Right. And it was just scattered. Right. But we live in a different world than we did in 2005. Right. But this organized software, this process, now this could be an Excel spreadsheet. This could be a software like Convert Cloud. It doesn't matter what it is. But in order to have a successful follow-up campaign, right? Whether that's following up with very, very new leads, whether that's following up with leads that are 3 to 6 months old, or whether that's following up with former members, they all need to be put into this incubator so that when you want to block time on your calendar to activate the pile of money that you're sitting on, man, I can't think of a better activity for a gym owner to go into their incubator, to spend a half hour following up with current leads, spend another half hour following up with leads from the last 3 to 6 months, and spend another half an hour following up with former clients to come back. I can't think of a better 90 minutes for a gym owner to spend to start making more money. Right. And if it's not you doing it, then you're doing the training of the person that is doing it. And that is an important point, right? So I talked about the software and this incubator, which is really, really important. But who is doing this activity is essential. Okay. A lot of people will hire a front desk person, and they will give the front desk person the responsibility to follow up with leads. And that is basically like, well, quick sidebar story. My kids in the summertime tend to go out the glass sliding door into the yard. And when the air conditioning is on, they will haphazardly leave the door open. So now I am paying my hard-earned money to air condition the outside of Berkeley Heights, New Jersey. So after the third or fourth time in a day that they leave it open, what I do is I bring them out to my fire pit. And I ask them to go up into their rooms, and I say, go, each of you grab a $1 bill. And I have them grab a $1 bill from their rooms, and I have them throw the $1 bills into the fire pit. And then I will start lighting the $1 bills on fire. And I will teach them the lesson of, hey, when you leave the door open while the air conditioning is on, you essentially are lighting money on fire. And then I go into the rule of respecting money and all of that kind of stuff, right? But that's what it's like. Hiring a front desk person that's not trained to follow up with leads, that's not trained to say the right things, that's not trained to ask the right questions, is simply like lighting money on fire. So whoever is going to do this, whoever is going to own this part of the business, and it's one of the most important parts of the business. And I don't, and have I done the 4 stages? I think I have talked about that.
Yes.
On the podcast. Basically,
Yeah.
you know, if you're in stage 1 or 2, you need to be doing this, right? If you're a very, very beginner gym owner, or you're a gym owner that's got like 2 full-time trainers, 1 part-time, and an admin, you still need to do this. As you get to stage 3 and you get further along and you have full-time people in certain positions and you have a larger company, you can start to pass this off, but only pass it off to someone that knows the job, that knows the outcome, that knows the goal, knows the value and the importance of this part of your business. But if you're in stage 1 or 2, like, you should own this, and you should almost be delighted to do it. And here's the thing: sometimes it sucks, right? Because you know why it sucks? It sucks because it kind of, you get told no, and it goes back to the failure thing that we talked about very early on in the podcast, right? It sucks to get told no. It sucks to call someone and say, "Well, I didn't opt in for this." Well, who are you?
Yeah.
Who are you? Right. Right. And it's just like, what Gabriel Fitness? Or like, where is that? Like, and they, it's almost like they just trampled on your own baby. It's just like, how could they say these terrible things to you? But it goes back to buoyancy. It goes back to like, hey, dude, this is the game. This is what, you need to, put your ego aside. You need to put your feelings aside, and you need to go, and you need to be able to make a phone call and then make another phone call. And, when I'm getting discouraged, one of the things I'll listen to is the Howard Stern clip. Your feedback is irrelevant. Have you ever heard that? We'll put the link in the show notes, but it's Howard Stern. Basically, some guy calls up and he goes, "Howard, I'd like to give you a little feedback on the show." And Howard goes, "Not necessary." And he's like, what? And Howard's like, "Your feedback is irrelevant." He's like, "I don't care what you say. I do what I want to do." He's like, "No, you should care what people think." I was like, he's like, "I don't care what people think. Like, I have been made famous by not caring what people think." Like, it's just like, but it's just, it's hilarious. It's really funny.
Yeah.
So we'll put the link in the
Okay, cool.
in the show notes. But it is anytime anyone is like talks to me about unsubscribes from emails, or someone like kind of yells at them because follow up with them, I have them listen to that. And it's just good. It's just good fuel. But the reality of all this is if we could kind of put a bow on this whole thing, right? It's understanding that the fortune is in the follow up, that you have this, this period of lead generation where you're doing activity and you're spending money to generate leads. But then there's this whole process in the middle called nurturing, or, follow up, or whatever you want to call it, that is like moving them from lead to client, right? And if you don't move them from lead to client, you're never going to make any money, right? And I think a lot of people put stock, and they should be putting stock, in the lead generation side of things, but an equal number of time and energy needs to be put into making those leads become clients. Otherwise, it's a big waste of resources and a big waste of money. So it is that the fortune is in the follow-up. It is consistently understanding that human beings are indecisive, and that you need to follow up multiple times. There needs to be speed and tenacity on the front end, and then there needs to be very consistent follow-up on the back end. That's kind of the point I wanted to make to people. And then in between there, like I said earlier, they need that incubator, right? They need that incubator of where it all goes. And the last thing is, like, this kind of also makes the case for long-term email promotions, right? To email your list regularly. Right? Because when you email your list regularly, you're starting to nurture the people that didn't buy right away. And then there's an interesting study done. I believe it was done by the Data Handling Inquiry Service, and they basically called up people that and did a survey, and they called up people that opted in to buy something, and they asked, "Did you buy? Like, you opted in to buy a sofa. Did you buy a sofa?" And 50% of the people said, "Yes, I bought a sofa." Right. So that's a good thing to know.
Yeah.
Right. Is that, hey, 50% of the people that opt in for things will buy it. Right. So if you get 100 leads, there's a good chance that you'll have 50 people that will buy. Right. So let's just use the numbers of 50, right? Out of 100, right? We'll use 100 total people and 50 bought. Well, what they found was only 15% bought in the first 100 days. So of the 50 that bought, only 7 bought in the first 100 days. The rest, which is 85%, which is almost 37 or something like that, bought in the next 100 weeks. Right. So it begs the case for, yes, you have to, there are people ready to buy, but only a small percentage are ready to buy immediately. There's a large percentage that are ready to buy in the next 100 weeks.
Yeah.
And so what you do is you kind of like, you lose confidence. You're like, oh, I got a bunch of leads on Facebook and none of them came in. Right. And it's just like, it's just math at that point. And so the way you increase the chances is you have more of consistent follow-up and understand that there's 85% of the people that are going to buy something, but they're probably not going to buy if you don't follow up with them.
Yep.
And that begs the case for, long-term email promotions and sending 3 emails a week to your list and having calls to action and a super signature to take the next step and do all that kind of stuff. So there are people that will buy right away, but only a small number. The rest of them are going to buy over the next 100 weeks. And your best bet is to have stuff out there going the entire time.
Yeah. And then a reminder for those not that great in math, that's 2 years, right? And that you have those names, you have those leads, those, that were interested, right? I mean, that's a long time, but it reminds me of when I worked in the bar business, I wrote an article on this. Actually, it was called, I don't care about the line. Okay. So when I was in the bar business, I worked for I worked for a celebrity and, everybody wanted to be in the newer bars. So when I opened this bar, it was in Union Square. It's called the Underbar. Everybody wanted to be there. Okay. So what would happen is people would start coming in, then I would start getting busy and I would notice my bartenders were getting busy. My waitresses were getting slammed. And so I would tell my doorman, hey, don't let anybody in. 5 minutes later, Aunt, we got a line out here. And I was like, I don't care about the line. The people online, it wasn't a manufactured line, by the way. It was the people on the line were not my customers. The people inside were my customers. So everybody no, just get them in. No, the people inside couldn't get a drink, right? Or they weren't comfortable. So if you're sitting around with Vanessa and you can't get to the bar and it's getting too crowded and what are you going to do? You're going to leave. So I would always make sure it was really comfortable. I was like, I don't care about the line. The line doesn't represent my current customer. I'm worried about the people inside my bar right now. So to me, it's very similar.
Yeah.
You have those people, they're gold.
But the line is also a great thing because the line shows other people that, hey, that's the place to be. It is. You don't want to walk into a restaurant and all of a sudden there's 17 empty tables and you're the only one in there. And it's like, oh God.
Yeah. Yeah. But it wasn't manufactured. I promise. It wasn't, I didn't need to do it.
I wouldn't blame you if it was.
Yeah. Line at 5:30 in the afternoon. It wasn't happening.
Yeah, but that's it. So fortune is in the follow-up, but everyone's sitting on a giant pile of money. Everyone listening to this has unconverted leads. In the last 100 days, everyone has unconverted leads in the last 100 weeks, depending on how long they've been in business. And every one of those has clients that used to train with them that no longer train with them, that a phone call away could probably get them to come back. So that is that kind of midpoint, that pile of money that you are sitting on that many people are too drunk on generating new leads to be able to activate the money. Because remember, at the end of the day, what you're trying to do, you're trying to make money. That's what your business is for. You're trying to make money in your business. You don't make money with leads. You make money with clients. And the people in your world are already you already got them as leads, right? They're already taken the first step, which is the hardest step. They're already in your world. And now you just got to do the right things to get them to come into your world with a check.
Good stuff. Vince, before I let you go, you always have some kind of webinar coming up or offer? You got to give us something here.
Yeah, no, the only thing I have right now is I'm giving away copies of my marketing book. So all your listeners need to do to get a free copy of my book, The Ultimate Guide to Marketing Your Gym, is just go to vincesfreebook.com and they can download a free copy of the book. So that's what I have to offer. Nothing to we do have a seminar I am doing with Perform Better coming up, but at the release of this podcast, the registration page is not ready yet.
Okay.
But the next time we do an episode, I will talk about it. But I'm very excited. Yeah, it's going to be in early May, and I'm doing it at the Perform Better headquarters in Providence, Rhode Island, a 2-day business seminar. So I'm super excited about that. But I'll give your listeners more detail
Nice.
as we go.
Cool. All right, Vince, thanks for doing this, and we'll talk to you next time.
Thanks, brother. Peace.